what kinds of things would you recommend for people to do to support themselves during the pandemic? Or what strategies, or is there a core strategy that we could be using for ourselves to support ourselves and then support our families at this time?
Oh, absolutely. And let me start out by saying that every recommendation I ever make in life or in business is something I have gone through, done, experimented with myself. So I don't just espouse theory, I've actually done it. And I think that's important, and I want to stress that, because when I talk about self-care, I came from a relationship that wasn't working, and I had lost myself. And that goes for men and women. We all go through that sometimes. So I had to make time for me. So for the last, 15, 20 years, I can honestly say, because I took those steps, I know who I am. And it's a little process, of course, to realize, whoa, what's going on. The relation or the connection to the current pandemic is that, to me, it's a reawakening to who we really are and why we are here. And it is huge. So many of us have lost focus on what life is all about. Especially in the US, it's been for a long, long time about chasing the next sale, getting the next bigger house, getting the next bigger car. It's capitalism at its best. And there may not be anything wrong with capitalism, but it's all stuff. And is our life really about stuff? So during this time of the pandemic, aside from the fact that most other countries in the world seem to be dealing with it differently and maybe more successfully than the US, just looking at numbers, what I think it required us to do is to take that first step to freedom that I talk about and reconnect with ourselves. It was all of a sudden, we couldn't just go out and spend money. We couldn't just lose ourselves in crowds. We couldn't just go to the grocery store and buy stuff. We actually had to think about, what am I buying? Do I really need this? And because some of us had experienced a lockdown, it was like all of a sudden you were home in the same place with everybody that was supposedly your family, right? And that could have been a rude awakening for some people, because normally people come home and it's like, okay, dinner's on the table, watch the news, watch a TV show, go to bed. There was no real communication happening anymore. But after you've done all of your Netflix, after you've done all your HBO for 2 months, you're done with the TV. And you actually have to face not just yourself, but the other people that you're living with. And that, to me, is the big thing of what this is all about. Reconnecting with yourself, turning all this stuff off. I know all of us are now on Zoom and StreamYard and all the other platforms, but we're alone. We actually have to figure out who we are. And that is the most important thing that we can do for ourselves. And that this pandemic, in addition to all of the losses and the grief and the horrific things that we're going through, the pandemic has opened up the door for us, has given us the time to be with ourselves. For many people, that's scary, which is why they do all this stuff. But being with yourself is the only way that you can realize your purpose, realize why you're stressed and not happy, and do something about it. So to me, the first step always is to make time for you to be with you. And that doesn't have to mean that you sit down in a prayer or meditation position that some guru told you you had to do. I mean, I meditate every day, but there are various forms of meditation. Just take time for you to be with you. That can be getting up half an hour early and having a tea with yourself, with nobody else, no radio, nothing. It can mean you taking an early morning walk with your dog. It can mean you going to the gym. I don't care what it is, but setting up the day right, setting up your day with you is the very important first step. And beginning to realize how you talk to yourself. It's not about getting rid of all the thoughts, but realizing all the stuff that's going on all the time. And then starting to pick out, well, where does this come from? Where does this come from? When you begin to make time for yourself in the morning, and I can say in the morning because I'm not a morning person, and I did it. I got up like at 5:30 every morning for 2 years just to figure out who I was, okay? And that's the first thing I do even now. I get up 15 minutes before anybody else in this house, so I am with me. And then during the day, I do the same thing. In the evening, I take time for me. Whether I journal, and I tell all my friends and my clients, journal in the evening, to let it all out. So in the morning and in the evening, be with you. Even if in the evening it's just 10 minutes, but shut everything down, be with you. I actually had a conversation about that with my daughter just about somewhere in the middle of summer, where she was so into video games, which is really not her thing normally, but it's an escape right now. And we limit that. But she was like in bed and all of these things kept coming up. And I said, okay, honey, I now want you to shut that down. So now we have this code that we use where we say, okay, 5 minutes before bed, we're just going to shut all of those programs down and we're going to take a deep breath. And that helps her sleep. That helps everybody sleep. And for people like me, I journal or I meditate. But it's really crucial to get all that stuff out of your head before you go to bed, or you will not sleep. So I think the pandemic in that way has opened us up to having to reconnect with ourselves, reevaluate what we're doing and why we're doing it, and realize who we're living with. And that's not always good, that's not always bad, but it requires us to take a look at it and then figure out, without loyalty issues, what is best for me and go from there. So in that sense, I think the pandemic definitely is a reawakening in the best sense of the word, because we have not made the time without this huge wake-up call.
Thank you.